So, we've talked about how you need to know your audience. We've talked about how you need to know the material. We've talked about how you need to know the presentation. The fourth thing you need to know is that everyone in that audience is there to hear a good presentation. Remember that hostile audience I described earlier? Even those people wanted me to give a good presentation. They just wished my presentation had included their pet projects and their pet theories. They wished I had talked about what they wanted me to talk about. But the rest of the audience was perfectly happy with my presentation. And in fact, several people came up and congratulated me and told me how great it was. And those two people who attacked me, they came up and apologized afterwards. And they said it was good, they just wish I had covered X, Y, or Z. Everyone wants to see a good presentation. That one bad presenter who was bad, I wanted to go to his department head and tell him that he was a fraud and he should be fired. That's how bad it was. But I had wanted him to be good. I really had. I had gone into that presentations with expectations of seeing something good. I had wanted to learn from them. If he was really the expert in this field, then I wanted to go learn about that field. I wanted him to give me a good presentation. So sometimes we as presenters, we think about the audience as our enemies, but really they're our friends. At least they start out that way. They want to hear something good from us. We are the experts. They want the information. They're there for us. They want to hear a good presentation just as much as we want to give a good presentation. Maybe they're not all as smiley and excited like we are, but they still are there because they want to be. When I was younger, I used to go see a lot of rock and roll bands. I know. I was too cool to clap after songs. I never did that. I said, why do I need to clap? They're there for me, let them perform. But I began to realize that, wait, I wanted to see a good performance. I just didn't want to see a performance. I wanted to see a band really rock out. And so if I wanted to encourage them, I needed to scream and clap. If I want to see a band do great, then I want to encourage them to do great. It's the same thing with presentations. If you want to see a good presentation, you clap and you yell and you tell that presenter, go. No, don't do that. Seriously, don't do that. But we should nod. We should not look at our phones and play on our laptops when people are trying to present. What we're telling them there is, you're boring, you don't have my full attention, I don't really want to be here. And the person presenting will give a worse presentation because of that. So the people who are there to actually learn something aren't going to be able to get what they want because the person isn't presenting like they would if everyone were attentive and smiling and nodding and into it like the presenter is. The person talking will not give as good a performance if they don't have encouragement from the audience. So the primary way to get out of the nervousness from presentations is to know your audience, know your material, know your presentation, and know that the audience is there to hear good things from you. They're on your side. We still get nervous, don't we? We still have trouble. We still feel that fear. How do we get rid of that nervousness? How do we minimize it without drinking? I think the best way to get over nervousness is to know. But there are all kinds of ideas of how to calm nervousness. One of the most interesting, one person told me, you should imagine the audience naked. Because you're presenting and you feel nervous, but the audience is in a worse position than you because they're naked. The corollary to that is imagine the audience in their underwear. To me, that's bad advice. Both of those, naked or underwear. It gets weird images stuck in your head you don't want there, can cause all sorts of problems. Don't do it. If it works for you, great, but I don't recommend it. Now, I've heard some people talk about eye contact with nervousness. When we get nervous, we don't want to look at people in the eyes. We don't want to look at people. And one person told me, well, you just look right above the people's heads. You look at the back wall, and they won't know you're not looking at them. Well, that may be true for large lecture halls, but most of us present in smaller rooms, and so people can tell we're not looking at them. For instance, what am I looking at right here? Am I looking at the camera? No? Can you tell I'm not looking at the camera? I'm looking right above the camera. Now I'm looking at the camera. We can tell when a person is not looking at us. Another person told me the way to overcome that fear of eye contact is to look around the audience, but to look at one person for a minute. So look at that one as you're talking, and then move to someone else in another part of the room for a minute, and then someone else for a minute. And that seems like good advice. It really does. It'll help you get your eyes around the room with connecting with individuals. Then I began to think, a minute is a long time. That's actually a really long time. And that's not called looking around the audience anymore. That's called staring. And people start to get uncomfortable when you stare at them for a minute. So I thought maybe 30 seconds is better. Then no, that's still too long. Maybe 20 seconds. Maybe 10 seconds. Maybe we should just learn to look around the audience. So my final advice is to you to overcome nervousness during presentations is to know. Know your audience. Know what they want. Know their knowledge level. Know your material. Know your presentation and what's coming on your slides without memorizing them. And know that the audience is there to help you. They're there with you. And then you can use whatever nervousness you still have after you know. You can use that nervousness to give you energy, to get you excited about your topic. Because nothing keeps an audience more interested and engaged than a presentation where the presenter is excited. That's the best thing you can do. So know and be excited. Thank you.